Starting recording. And we're on. You're watching Long Live Podcasts. I'm James Ridden-Waters, your frequent host. And once again, we have another conversation with Nate Boddington. Hello, Nate.
Hey, how you doing?
How's everything going? So today, we thought, me and Nate, we were sort of planning the podcast, and we thought we would decide to focus on something a little interesting, a little different, about the algorithm, or the dark side of the algorithm. Now, I've started using Twitter, and I've spoken to a couple of people about how to operate with Twitter, and you have to be, in order to promote your content, in order to get more views and more likes and you know, more exposure, you have to adhere quite a lot to how the algorithm functions, or else you're going to go nowhere. So in a very strong way, and we'll probably see this very much more in the future, we're just seeing the beginning now, the algorithm is going to really have a huge impact on our lives, especially for people who are frequent users of the internet, which is basically all of us at this point. But there is certainly a not so friendly side to the structures and functions of how the algorithm works, and this is the crux, I suppose, because we you know, if you know, it puts in the question, how in control of our opinions and ideas and beliefs are we? How in control are we? So you were talking to me on the phone call earlier today about the most notorious YouTuber, someone his name starts with a J and ends with an ache Paul.
Yeah, Jake Paul. Yeah, Jake Paul.
Who I don't know too much about, because I try and stay away from all that bullshit. But you know, just I don't even try and get involved about the reactionary memes, just because it's like, I just don't want to go there, man. It's just.
See, I'm quite engaged in current events, YouTubers and stuff. That's where I get all my news from, I suppose.
Yeah.
And you can't help but hear about Jake Paul every couple of months. His name's always popping up.
Yeah, he's doing some crazy shit.
His latest thing is telling kids not to go to school, and instead telling them to enroll on his program, where he teaches them about financial freedom, and reaches out to the parents to tell them that everything will be okay if they subscribe to his £20 a month service, which is half price. I just want to say it's half price.
Okay.
So it's £40 a month to have this man teach your children instead of them going to school.
Fucking lunatic, man. How old is he now? He must be in his 20s.
He's younger than me.
Yeah. Okay. And man. I mean, both the Pauls, Logan and Jake Paul, are absolutely notorious and shocking the media with their answers.
I think Logan's actually the better of the two dudes. I think Jake Paul is a psychopath.
Yeah. I mean, you're saying Logan Paul's better, and this is the guy that filmed a dead body, right? So,
yeah. No, I'm very aware of that. I'm very aware of that.
Yeah, man. Okay. Interesting.
And the thing that disgusts me is that YouTube is still recommending Jake Paul, still doing it. And the thing that scares me about Jake Paul is that he's very, very aware of his audience, and his audience are primarily 12-year-olds.
Right.
And most of his content isn't even content; it's just a long ad about his merch. He's basically like, all right, well, buy my merch. Talk to your parents and ask them to buy my merch. And while you're at it, subscribe to my £40 a month service, where, you know, I'll teach you about the joys of financial freedom and that you don't have to stay in the school, which is I just want to say, his whole business model is a complete rip-off of a Boy in a Band video, which was labeled "Don't Stay in School," which wasn't telling people not to stay in school. It was telling people to question the education system. But instead of like trying to get people to question the education system, he's just telling you that you should doubt it, and that you should subscribe to his service because he knows all about it, and he's going to save you all from from condemning yourselves to a life of unhappiness and a job that you don't like.
It's very strange to I mean, you'd hear about awful celebrities, you know. I'm thinking like Charlie Sheen, Michael Jackson on the news, but YouTube's very special in that it will, you know, there's this sort of, it's more free, but there's a sort of illusion that there's more freedom than there is in what content you actually consume. Because if you consume this content, you then say, oh, okay, well, I'm this kind of person. I'm the kind of person that wants to get involved in Jake Paul's life, whether I agree with him or not. And you know, and that's the scary thing, because you can you know, and especially with 12-year-olds, they're so influential, they're so vulnerable and so naive that they, you know, when a YouTube service, a service that like has unadulterated content all over it, it has to, because you can't moderate all of it, and this service is available to 12-year-olds and even younger children, whose parents who don't know about YouTube Kids, whether that's something we want to get involved in as well. That's something we didn't even mention today, but you know, YouTube Kids is like a very peculiar thing, man. I mean, yeah, like the stuff that gets recommended is quite interesting, to say the least. I remember we remember like Spider-Man and Elsa as this very, very strange, raunchy show that capitalized off the Spider-Man and Elsa being the two prominent things that kids really enjoyed. And there was some, you know, and anyone can sort of make this stuff, and it can be really quite horrible content. And if it monetizes well for the YouTube system, then fair play. It's gonna just let it happen, right?
That is awful marketing. That's really bad marketing. Like anyone can think of that. Anyone can be like, oh, what do boys like? What do little kids like? Oh, they like they like dinosaurs. Let's make a show that has dinosaurs in it. And what else do kids like? Oh, they like Frozen. So let's just have let's just have dinosaurs in the Frozen.
But when you are a stupid kid, like that will appeal to you, you know. That will be like that will end up being this kind of like, right, I'm gonna.
I don't know anything about marketing to children, but the thing that's kind of creepy though when it comes to YouTube is it can be just any Tom, Dick, and Harry creating this stuff for kids.
Yeah.
Whereas, like, you know, when you look at companies like Disney, they actually have educated marketing teams that understand what children like.
Yeah.
And they make films for children, and they add a load of things that the adults can enjoy as well. Like, I don't know if you've seen Ice Age or any of those films, but when I was a kid, I loved Ice Age. And my mum loved it as well, because they add a load of jokes that the kids don't understand, that the parents
innuendos, yeah.
But when you watch this stuff on YouTube, it's like bizarro. It is the strangest shit.
Yeah.
It's kind of like the show equivalent of you know, kneeling down and talking to a kid and being like, "This is what you like. This is what you should watch." You know,
by a strange man who has any number of things going on behind the scenes, you know.
Oh,
how is he
you
paying
like
the
Spider-Man, don't you? You like Spider-Man?
Yeah.
Yeah, you should watch this video about Spider-Man and Elsa.
I mean, like Hollywood kind of does that to an extent. It's just not as specifically focused towards you and your history and your search history and like and what your phone listens to you say. Because I made a funny thing yesterday.
I mean, I guess to some people it probably doesn't even matter, because like half the stuff that kids watch they're not going to remember when they're older. But you're very impressionable. Yeah, you are. See, that's what I think. I think kids are a lot more intelligent than adults give them credit for.
Yes. And they take in information, man. They because everything's new to them. They don't block anything out. They can't, you know, because they don't know what to block out and what to keep, what's you know. They just take it all in, and they ask very disturbing questions to their parents, you know. And that's like, "Mummy, what's this?" And then it's like, well, you know, it's certainly quite scary. It's certainly quite a horrifying ordeal, and
But
yeah.
I do think it's quite interesting that so YouTube has really started honing in on channels that have children in the videos
Yeah.
and disabling all the comments. And the thing is, like a lot of these videos that are tailored towards children have children in the videos, and they're disabling all the comments so that kids can't engage with content because they're not going to be able to engage with other kids their age online. So the only people that kids can engage with on YouTube are people who are like our age and older, which I think is even more disturbing. I think that's
right. Yeah.
So I just don't think that YouTube's way of marketing to kids in general, or the stuff that they recommend to children, is it's a slippery slope. I don't even think we should have a YouTube Kids. I don't think kids should be on YouTube.
I don't think. Yeah, I think we've forgotten that the internet is a very dark place, and you give, I mean, like obviously, you have to do your best to regulate it, but like, I just think the it's a scary thing. Can I talk about like content sort of for our age, and specifically what control you have over your own opinions and beliefs. And I'm talking about a personal story where I decided to check out the other. I was a lefty. I still am a little. I'm a little weaker. I'm not as much of a lefty as I used to be. And I wanted to see the other side. And I also got engrossed to a particular man called Jordan Peterson, and I watched a Joe Rogan interview with him. And after that, I immediately got flooded with lots of Jordan Peterson videos, and they seemed interesting. So the cover seemed interesting, so I clicked on it, and then I'd listen to his stuff, and then I discovered who Ben Shapiro was, and then I took his information, and then I discovered who Milo Yiannopoulos who was, and then I discovered who Lawrence Southern was. You may not know those people. They're like kind of conservative. They're sort of conservative, have been fashioned with the alt-right kind of people. I'm not saying I don't know. I don't. It's a lot of speculation, but the point is, after a while, I began having these very strange opinions about, just like certain political topics such as abortion and other things that I don't want to get too much into because I want to sort of move myself away from that history of myself. But I became very much engrossed with the opinions of these conservative people, which is very dangerous. I mean, if you're asked to like watch 12 hours of neo-Nazi content, it's going to shift your opinion a little bit. And the thing about the algorithm is that it had a very clever way of showing me, oh, you like Jordan Peterson, and then it would flood my my recommended list on YouTube with Jordan Peterson and Ben Shapiro and Joe Rogan and Mia Yiannopoulos videos and stuff. And I unfortunately, so it really puts into question, because now I know that I'm very resilient to that sort of thing, but I had to get myself out of that hole, and that's the problem, because the opinions I had were definitely not, Jesus Christ, were not autonomous. That I wasn't completely autonomous to make the decisions to have those opinions. Those opinions very much had me more than I had them. So I don't know what you think about that, because you're not.
Well, I think it's interesting that, like, because you've just made me realise that actually YouTube doesn't actually know what you like.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, yeah.
I mean, like you could. I mean, actually, quite a lot of the time, and I'm a bit ashamed to admit that I do end up watching a lot of videos that sort of like tailor to my negative opinions of the world. Yeah. Like, sometimes I'll watch like an iPhone versus Android video or something, and I'll be like, why am I watching this? I know I don't like iPhones. I don't need someone else to confirm my own belief on this. And then suddenly I'm getting recommended all of this stuff about iPhones, and I'm like, I don't want this on my homepage. Yeah. I want
and I'll recommend the most clickable ones, man, and then we just become addicted to like the most clickable videos. And
so I think in a way we do it to ourselves. We give the algorithm the ability to change our opinions
That's
by
true.
giving into our, darker urges.
Which is why it's important to like be resilient and to be aware that this is happening, because otherwise you will end up like, as I did, you will end up having very strange opinions on women and abortion and like I don't know, like just other very weird topics. I remember posting this very embarrassing status about IQ and stuff, and I was like, why isn't anyone talking about this? Everyone's trying to hush me, and everyone's like, you gotta put this down, man. I won't say what it was, but like, it was clearly like, it clearly had no basis in reality. It was just my my YouTube just saying, oh, you have an inquiry about this, let's accelerate that opinion, let's accelerate that thought process to its ultimate end, rather than be completely open to what content you consume. So it's it's very important to be resilient to that sort of thing, and a lot of people aren't.
Do you think then that like the algorithm is sort of giving you what you might gain from what you're already researching?
Yeah, but it's always very contrived and specific opinions with the same people. That's the problem. It's all like I'll watch
because by doing that, you're watching more and more of a prestigious person who generates a lot of clicks.
Yeah. Yep. And that's the real, exactly.
And actually that's quite a good marketing tactic anyway, because a lot of these people are quite regular users of Reddit and Twitter and Facebook, and that Google owns a lot of these companies. They own YouTube, and they're generating even more money than just YouTube revenue if you suddenly take an interest in Jordan Peterson. So, I mean, it's all conspiracy, but
that's why we've got to be objective about it. I think
it makes sense though. It makes perfect sense to me anyway.
I'm not saying the algorithm is like a secret person, like telling sort of branding me into an alt-right figurehead or whatever. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying that like
you're just a means to make money though. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, right. You are.
Like to them, they don't really care what you like, because if they did, then they'd recommend you videos based on what you like, but they don't do that. They recommend videos to you based on what you watch.
Yeah.
Liking a video only helps the person who made the video.
But there are some sorts of videos that will project more recommended lists than others. For example, I could watch a couple of animations, and I won't be recommended half as many animation videos as if I watched the Jordan Peterson video. And then suddenly I watch one video, and every other video on my recommended list is a Jordan Peterson video, and that's kind of weird. I think that puts into question like why his videos. I don't think Google is an alt-right company, but I don't know why. Is it just because like I feel like the algorithm accelerates whatever direction you're going in. So if you're going in the direction of becoming a conservative, or even just like opening your eyes up to more conservative views, it will just project you into that direction. And if you opposingly are looking at more anarcho-communist videos, it will project you in that direction as well. So as a result, it's something to I want to say robotism, but that's something else. It completely divides people into their own echo chambers, into their own perceptions, and we knew this was a problem years ago. But I think we're more resilient in how to deal with it now. But it's still a problem that we should discuss. And many people who are my age back then are very likely going to be sucked into the. I mean, luckily, the internet is great at shunning certain figureheads like Ben Shapiro. Like, there's a lot of embarrassing memes people have made of him. Where he's like fantasizing and stuff. So that's definitely that's great. I actually think that like in the modern in this day and age, I think doing that's a weird form of heroism to actually with humor just shun people down that that have very strange opinions, and but then again, how do I know that, you know, how do I know that that's just not my Facebook that's showing me those memes, you know, and how maybe there's another side where he's still being praised. I don't know. We are completely shut out from conversation. We can't like, because our communication is filtered through these algorithms, communications with other people, you know. I go on Twitter and I want to follow philosophy PhD people because I want to discuss my book with them. And, you know, and now my Twitter looks like Twitter's mainly comprised of people with philosophy PhDs, and maybe, I mean, I'm not saying that's particularly awful because that's what I want, but it changes your perception on reality. It makes you think that there are way more philosophy PhD students than there actually are. You know, it's very, you gotta be very careful. It tampers with your perspective of reality. That's what I think.
I mean, yeah. I mean, YouTube just recommends you what you watch a lot.
Yeah.
Whereas I think Twitter has got a much better algorithm, and I think Facebook's got a better algorithm than YouTube as well.
Yeah, I think so.
I think like if you follow people on Facebook, you will see their posts. And the problem I have with YouTube is that like you could be subscribed to someone, and never be recommended their content. Just straight up never be recommended it. It just won't show up on your homepage.
Mm-hmm.
And this is an interesting conversation because you never actually hear about this side of the algorithm. Usually, when you hear about the algorithm, you're listening to someone, you know, rant about, you know, how their videos aren't being recommended or how it affects YouTubers, but you never hear about how it might affect consumers of YouTube.
Right. That's kind of why it's an interesting thing to talk about.
Yeah.
You know, it has a little nuance for the podcast we're doing, right? So, but yeah, it is very interesting. It's like, you know, in a time now when, you know, lockdown is happening, we're going to be on the internet more than ever. So whatever directions we're going in, the algorithm's going to just push us even further into those directions, even if those directions are against our own best interests, should I say.
Mm.
You want to talk about, to segue, do you want to talk about going back onto affecting your, you know, having your opinions as not really your own opinions?
Are we in control of what we think? Yeah.
That's so yeah. Because me and Nate were discussing about a certain little someone who we both quite like a lot of stuff that he produces, but
I'm a very big fan of his past work, but I think he's become a little bit of a I don't want to call him names. I just think he's a bit arrogant.
He can be a bit arrogant, and I'm not really. I think he's probably a very nice. We're talking about Melon, by the way, Anthony Fantano.
Fantano.
I quite like a lot of his content. I just think I want to just affirm that, like, words are very powerful things, and when you have one person speaking about music as a whole, that can be kind of tricky. That's the only thing I'm saying. I'm not saying that he's like, you know, I'm not saying he's done it. You know, he's a chipper guy. You know, he seems like a fun guy.
He seems to have very good political views. He seems to be a very well-rounded person who cares about people. But I think that he is sometimes very careless of, you know, how someone might feel having watched his review of their music. And like, I'm not saying that he shouldn't give his opinions. What I'm saying is I don't think that he uses a specific rhetoric to review each album. I think he tends to review each album differently. And the thing that annoys me about that is like we've got. I mean, this is just my opinion, but like he has his review of To Pimp a Butterfly, which he gave a 10 out of 10 review.
Yeah.
And I mean, like, it's tricky to talk about because this is my opinion, you know, and like my opinion isn't, you know.
Maybe this will blow up, and then you'll be the one who has to take responsibility.
My opinion isn't worth anything either, but I think, you know, having some music knowledge, I do think that I know what a consistent album is.
Yeah.
like having a consistent theme, and consistent tones throughout the tracks, and they flow well together. And there's an actual honed in sort of idea that works across the whole album. And I don't think that To Pimp a Butterfly feels like an album. It doesn't, like, when I'm listening to it, I'm not like, oh, this is a really good album. I think this is a really good collection of tracks. And the thing is, he reviewed that as an album, but he's given scores to albums for being, and given them low scores for being inconsistent. Like, oh well, this album, it sounds like a collection of songs that are just thrown together onto a.
I mean, like, again, it is like. It is. I mean, obviously, it's just one guy's opinion.
He contradicts himself.
Yeah.
That's what annoys me. Is like his ways of reviewing albums contradict some of his most popular reviews, and that sort of makes him a bit of a polarizing person on the YouTube platform, because it means that he's not fully. I don't think he's fully taking responsibility for the fact that he is the most prestigious music reviewer, and he should have one way to record every album so that it's fair.
Yeah.
Review every album.
I tweeted. I'm tweeting him a couple of times now. I'm going to keep tweeting him. I asked him a very specific question because I think one person's one person's opinion is absolutely fine. Obviously, that's completely fine. But I wanted to ask him this question. I want him to answer it. Is should artists care about his opinions of his music or his albums or his work or whatever? Should they care about his opinion? And that'd be a very interesting question for him to answer. I think, because if he says yes, they should care, then then there's a kind of arrogance in his opinion. And if he says no, then it kind of puts into question his role as a critic. And I think it'd be very difficult for him to answer that. And the other thing I want to sort of think about is scoring. And I think because I think words and numbers are very, very powerful in controlling us, much more than we really show, much more than we really take credit for. Yeah. And for someone to have 2 million subscribers and to narrow down an entire album to a specific score and have all albums based on the same score doesn't really make any sense to me. It's like, I get why he's doing it, but I think it's very dangerous to not dangerous, is not the right word, but I think it can be quite risky if you interpret those scores the wrong way. And what does it mean if you get a 1 out of 10 review? What does that mean for the lifestyle of the artist who, in the world of YouTube, which is now dominated by people's opinions, and the biggest opinions have the most power,
Yeah, I don't know. I think there was a review that he did that really, really bothered me, and I'm not even like a fan of this artist. There's a rapper called Lil Dicky, and he did an album called what was it? It was Professional Rapper, and he gave it I'm pretty sure he gave it a not good review, and said that it was all derivative and that there was no original ideas and that none of it was funny or interesting or whatever.
Yeah.
And these are all things that people like about Lil Dicky's music. I mean, like, you look at any comment section anywhere, you look at, it's all about how he's a comedian. That's why people like his music, because he's funny, and he has a very unique way of writing songs where he'll have one person's point of view and another person's point of view, and they argue and they have a debate during a piece of music, which I'd never seen done before at the time when I first heard his music. So I thought, well, that's really interesting. That's a really interesting topic, a really unique way to write a song that I've never seen before. And then, it's almost as if he didn't really listen to the music. He didn't really listen to the tracks, because if he did, then he would know that there was, an interesting way that he created those songs, that there was an actual, there was something new there.
Yeah.
And he just completely shat all over it and said that it wasn't funny, that it wasn't original, it wasn't interesting, that it was drawn out, and You know.
I do think I do think his position is quite useful.
It is, but like I don't like the thing is like he hasn't reviewed every album fairly. I don't believe that he's been fair with a lot of his reviews. I don't think that Lil Dicky's album is a good album by any stretch of the imagination.
Yeah.
Like it like there was good songs on it, sure, but that doesn't make a good album.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean that the album's good if it has a few good songs on it. But you know, the thing is, it was every bit as concise as To Pimp a Butterfly, and that's why I'm annoyed about that review, because like both of those albums were quite messy in their, you know, from the track listing.
I mean,
from the start to finish, and it's like, well, you basically you've said that this album is bad because it does the same thing as To Pimp a Butterfly, which you praised it for. So you can't. He's contradicting himself. That's what kind of annoys me about him, is that he's not really fair when it comes to reviewing albums. He lets things slide if he likes the artist.
That's very. I mean, that last part's very interesting, and I do think it comes down to both arrogance as a reviewer and power you have over music audiences.
We were saying it earlier, weren't we? We were saying how like giving your opinion on an album is one thing. It's like, you know, that's fine. You can give your opinion, but to give it a score is kind of to assert power over the art. It's like saying, oh well, you know, I've given you all my opinions, but this is how good it is. This is like this is what it's worth. And by giving an album a 0 out of 10, you're basically saying this album is worth nothing. It's not worth the plastic that, you know, that the album's printed to. It's just not. How can you say that someone's art is worth nothing?
It's annoying because we are with Facebook, with all social media, including YouTube, we're becoming more collectivistic in our own little bubbles of community, you know, which means that one, you know, we have these sort of organic but very rigid structures on what it means to, you know, what sort of, you know, from certain audiences what music even means, and it, you know, it can be quite a problem when someone does have that, when someone does like put themselves into that, you know. Obviously he's very funny and he gets a lot of attention, and I
love his sense of humor, and I love his video. I love his video on Ben Shapiro. I think it's fucking hilarious.
I think that's a great video.
Yeah, and I think I like his more political videos, and I miss That Is the Plan. Like that was like my favorite YouTube channel. I loved it. It was so funny. I think he's a really funny dude. I think since he's sort of hit the 2 million mark, I think he's sort of lost sight of what it means to review music.
Yeah.
And what, you know, music actually means as an art form.
Yeah.
Rather than just ranking, you know, the top 50 albums of the year, like, it doesn't mean anything.
Yeah.
You know,
it's a great way to get. It's a great way to discover new music, I think. But the problem is, I find that whenever I'm listening to listen to a Sun Kill Moon album, in my head, just going round and round this is a 9 out of 10. This is a 9 out of 10. This is a 9 out of 10, and it really fucks with my enjoyment of the album to begin a score. I like Deep Cuts because Deep Cuts is both a humble, not really a critic. He's just like a music voyeur and just enjoys music. But you know, he also doesn't score things. He'll just be like, he has an entirely different approach to it, and I do really like him. If you don't watch Deep Cuts, it's like a very good alternative to the Needle Drop. If you don't like how rigid his opinions are and everything. I mean, yeah. So I think it is a little nitpick, but like what we're discussing. But like it is something very. I think it's something very important to think about when it comes down to controlling your opinions that aren't yours. You know.
Yeah, the whole point of the segue was that, like, in a way, at some point in our lives, you and me, I mean.
Yeah.
We have both been heavily influenced by the music that the Needle Drop recommends.
Yes.
And I found myself in situations, and it took me a long time to come to terms with the fact that I just don't like Death Grips. I just don't get it. I just don't understand it. I don't understand why it's good. To me, it is just noise. I just don't understand why it's good. But, you know, I've tried to force myself to like it because he recommended it and he said that it was so good and so highly praised. And I just don't understand. Like, to me, it's not very musical. You know, it's more just abrasive sounds and anger and whatnot. And I understand the appeal. I understand why people like the music, at least. I just don't get, personally, I just don't feel anything towards the music. And the thing is, I don't really feel much towards any of the things that he's given 10 out of 10 reviews to.
Yeah.
I mean, I loved the cut with Kanye West and Kid Cudi. I thought that was fucking awesome.
Yeah.
But like, apart from that, like, I don't connect with any of his 10 out of 10 reviews. And I feel like a lot of his reviews are just, you know, let's pick a polarizing album and then I'll be devil's advocate to the rest of the world, and that just seems like
Well,
what he's doing.
you were talking about critics that change their scores after the needle drop would make a review.
Yeah, there's.
You want to talk about that? You want to talk a bit about that, and like just to enlighten everyone on like what actually that was about.
Let me see if I can find something.
Yeah. Because that's very strange. I find you know. It is just like sheep mentality, isn't it? Just follow the crowd, and it's like, you know, and it does really undermine individuals' opinions on, you know, like, you know, it's like, oh well, you know, I'm not listening to an album properly because I like this album and he didn't, and it just you know, it's just the language that is coming across sort of prevents our freedom to decide whether an album is good or not ourselves. I think that's the crux.
Well, I can't find anything right now, but
Yeah.
if anyone watches this video who is a reviewer, don't change your scores. Just keep them the same, because
Stick to your guns, man.
Yeah. Because your opinion is just as important as his. You know.
It is. Yeah, it is. It's just not as followed, which is, you know. But
I don't think that really means. For the longest time, I thought that meant something.
Yeah.
And I think it's because, like, whenever I mean, a band that like I have loved for like 10 plus years now, it's like La Dispute. I love La Dispute. I love their music. I think they're one of the most original bands who ever lived, and no one can take that away from me. And like, I think seeing him review at the time what was my favorite album, Wildlife, and him giving it such a high review, like a 9 out of 10, really solidified to me and made me feel like I had this superior music taste. And I was young and arrogant, and I thought I had better music taste than everybody else.
Yeah.
And you know, and then suddenly, you know, every album that I liked that he reviewed and said was good, I was starting to think, well, hang on a minute, like, all the music that I like, he's saying is good, so it must be good, because he says it doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean anything. Yeah. It just means that I have a lot in common with him. That's it. That's all it means.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, that's the problem when you watch his like high reviews and that you like it only like triggers the inverse process where if you like something and he doesn't like it, you feel disappointed. This is very strange. I don't just mean the needle drop. I think Pitchfork is the same problem. You know, they score albums as well. Pitchfork just aren't just as figureheady or like they don't have as much of a personality as the needle drop. So it's not, you know, I don't think Pitchfork has as much influence. You know, and Pitchfork also do other things. You know. The exclusive thing that Anthony Fantano does is he reviews albums and he gives them scores, and people just live for the score. They like I've done it before. I've just like gone. I haven't watched the review.
The thing is,
I've just looked at the score.
He does avoid it sometimes. He's like, this is the thing. It's the inconsistency thing that really bothers me about him. He reviewed Nirvana in Utero. He reviewed that album, and you'll notice with any album that he really, really loves. He doesn't give them scores. Actually,
that's not true. That's because it's a classic review. He
doesn't give scores to his long-term albums that he likes.
They're the classic review. Yeah.
It was also Neutral Milk Hotel. He didn't. It was Aeroplane Over the. I can't remember what it's called.
In the Airplane Over the Sea. Yeah. Which is a great album. Actually,
he didn't give that a score. He didn't give that a score either.
You know, it's funny. It's very uncool to like that album now because of how much it was liked. It's a
I
very
don't get
strange.
it.
It's a very strange. What you don't like? You don't get the album, or you don't get the trend.
I don't get it. To me,
What?
it's just a folk. It's just a folk album. It's just like any other folk. I've listened to hundreds of folk albums, and they all sound eerily similar to that album.
Pretty
And
good
I just,
album,
it's just, I think Fleet Foxes are better, personally.
yeah. It is interesting. What are we on? We're on 40 minutes. So, anything interesting in your mind at the moment? Anything you want to share?
That's like related to YouTube. Or...
It could be anything. It could be yeah. Yeah. Something maybe it can be related to algorithm. It can be related to something else. You know.
I do want to sort of shine a light on the fact that like a lot of YouTubers say, and a lot of just generally people say that if in order to be successful on YouTube, you have to have the right, you have to have the thumbnails, you have to have the catchy titles, and and it's not true. And there's this YouTuber that I've been watching for like the past year. His name's Scott the Woz. He does he does gaming videos. It's really hard to sort of he doesn't really have a specific genre within that thing that I can sort of be like, oh yeah, but he doesn't do any of it. He doesn't do any of the catchy titles. He'll literally have a video called
You've told me about this guy.
It will just be called The Wee Scott the Woz, which is like the most boring title. Oh, and it would just have a picture of the Wii and then have like his face in it or whatever. and it will get like 2 million views. And the reason why it gets 2 million views is because of his reputation as a YouTuber. Because people come to know his videos as being of a high quality. He puts a lot of time into them. They're like full essays. They're like essays on specific things in the gaming world. And they're like really high quality videos. And I think that instead of spreading this misinformation that it doesn't really matter how high quality your videos are. It doesn't matter if it's good or not. It matters that you have a good thumbnail and a good title and that people click on it. That's what matters.
Yeah.
And then you got to ask yourself, well, what's the point then? What is the point in making content if you're not creating a piece of high quality content that you're actually proud of, something that you feel good about.
Yeah, right.
Just to make some money, you can do that anywhere.
I think the internet's great, and that the fact you can make money at all. I think that'll piss off a fair amount of far lefters that maybe watch. I don't know actually, but I do like the monetizing aspect of the internet.
I do like the monetizing aspect, but I think it's a secondary thing, because I can only compare it to music. Like, I don't write music because I want to make money.
Yeah.
I play music because like I'm good at it and I like it, and I don't listen to music anymore. I must admit, I'm like sort of
Yeah, you're. That's a very Nate's run out of music to listen to. Everyone, it's a very strange.
I know it is strange.
It's a strange thing, man.
But I've just been doing it a long time, and like the last thing I want to do nowadays is listen to music.
Nate's nearly finished studying a music course at BIM, which just for our audience. And I did a sociology degree because I thought it would get me a job, but that's for another discussion.
Yeah, but anyway, yeah, and like that's sort of like the only thing I can compare it to is that like, I still do it, and I'm still trying to find a new sound because I enjoy it, and that's what people on YouTube should be making videos for, not because they want to make money.
Yeah,
if you happen to make money afterwards, then fucking, that's fucking awesome, man. You're like doing what you love and making money from it.
I think it's authenticity and accountability, being authentic in what you create, regardless of what your paycheck is, because money corrupts, and lots of money corrupts more. So is that a quote? Can we make that a quote?
I really agree, and like going back to the sort of Jake Paul thing. Like Jake Paul started out as this really like light-hearted guy who did sort of gags on what was that other one that everyone uses? Vine.
Fine.
Yeah, he started out on that, and he was quite funny, I must admit. Like I've seen some of his vines, and they were pretty funny. Like they're pretty on the nose, but then he took like a business course in like selling products through influencers and stuff and business, and he's used all of that to manipulate children into buying his merch.
Yeah.
The money went to his head and turned him into a psychopath.
Yeah.
And like I just think that like money has the potential to do that to anyone. Literally anybody. Anybody can become a sociopath if they make enough money.
Yeah.
And you let it go to your head, and that becomes the only reason why you do things.
I think you got to be a very special, resilient kind of person to make a lot of money and not be corrupted in some way.
I think it just depends on what your goals are as a person. Because I think people who think with the mindset, I want to make money, and that's the driving force to everything they do.
Yeah, very sad.
Then they will become corrupted. But if you're someone that just does what you love doing, and doesn't really pay attention.
There's this thing I write in the chaining of money in my book about there's like a subchapter called the chaining of money, and I say that I'm not just quoting myself. I just want to like add it to say that this is what I've discussed. I say that if we equate money to value, we will conversely equate things that have nothing to do with money as having no value. You can't if you believe money is valuable, you're going to, without a lot of resilience, trigger the inverse process where things that have nothing to do with money, such as going for a walk, meditating, drinking water. I mean, I know that costs money, but not like in the same way, going for walks, all of this sort of thing, sitting in the sun. These things will become banal to you. They will become insignificant to you if you do really value that paycheck. You're going to miss all of the opportunities to have this real sort of freedom and happiness that comes from not just a mere number in your bank account, which is kind of an obvious piece of advice, I think, but I think it's something definitely worth reconsidering.
See, I consider myself to be quite fortunate in the sense that, like growing up, I know this is a really backwards statement, but growing up, like we didn't really have a lot of money.
Yeah.
And I always thought it was kind of callous.
I agree. I actually agree with you because if you grew up with a lot of money, you may have ended up believing that money was valuable. Then suddenly you don't work as much as your dad who makes 50K a year, and then you're going to be like, oh man, my life sucks because I have no money. But if you start from having no money, as I did as well. I mean, my stepdad made like 15K a year, maybe not much for a family, in comparison to like many other families. Then fuck it, you're gonna grow up to not value money as much, which might do you some good, especially if you're starting out in the world. You're right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I think it's just I think a lot of people put too much, give money too much value. I think you give money the value. I don't think money has any value without,
Yeah.
I think it's more the things that the money goes on that has value.
Yeah, but even then you have something called commodity fetishism, where you start valuing things for no reason. Like you value the Nike shoes as opposed to the non-Nike shoes, just because Nike's been drilled into your head that it has more of a value, or that you're buying into some other world.
See, I think I use time to quantify the value of things.
It's a much better way of doing it.
Because sometimes, I'll be like, well, I invested in, I don't know, I bought this little retro gaming handheld thing.
Excuse me. Yeah.
And I use it a lot. I spend a lot of time using it. So to me, it's valuable. It has, it has an effect on my life. It brings me joy every now and then. I just pick it up. But I think, if I was to have the money instead, like the 70 quid, it would
Yeah.
just go on something else. It doesn't have any value. It's like, well, what would I spend 70 quid on?
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
The 70 quid can't bring me joy. It can't bring me. Spending time with 70 quid isn't going to make me feel good about the 70 quid.
Yeah.
So, like, I guess there's probably some rich people out there who bathe in their money. But...
I mean, the thing is that most people that are going to watch this sort of stuff will probably have the same thing as us. But there are so many people out there that really do think money is some important thing. You know, have this kind of has this kind of like weight over like how successful you are, or how this you are, or how much status you have, or whatever. And it doesn't, you know, it's a very perverse attitude, I think.
See, I don't know. I think. I mean, I guess it just depends on who you admire, but I tend to respect people who are modest, and I tend to respect people more who are like people who are proud of what they've accomplished, because that's what I want.
Yeah.
That's what I think is valuable. I want to be proud of who I am and what I've achieved and the things that I have. I want to be proud of that.
Yeah.
And I'm not yet, but you know, I aspire to be the people who are, and like those are the people that I admire in my life.
Yeah.
So like,
and enjoy the process as well. You don't have.
That's what success is to me. Is seeing someone who has fulfilled their goal in life and feels good and feels happy about it and feels good and happy enough about it to tell the world about it.
I mean, exactly. Yeah, I think so as well. I mean, Gary Vee says that success is just waking up in the morning and being happy, and I like that a lot. I think that's
Very simple. Yeah,
it's really simple. It's just, you know, it doesn't require too much thought. It's just like success is just waking up in the morning and being happy, no matter what situation you're in. You know.
I think because the thing is, if you strip the veil of society away for a second, and you just sort of think about like us on a primal level, you know, we come into the world, we live, we eat some things, and then we die. You know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like when you think about life on that sort of fundamental level, it's like, well, actually, you know, does anything else matter other than just being alive? And
it feels great. And
enjoying the limited time that you have on the planet, because that's actually what's valuable. Yeah. And if you're spending all of your time making money, which is going to be the vast majority of your time, is that success then?
I
don't know. I don't get it personally.
I want to say that I'm very, very glad that especially that I don't have like a full like a proper job, but also that I don't make much money, because I know I would value it too much. I don't earn much money at all, but it kind of gives me a bit of freedom in a way, because I have to force myself to do other things rather than like, you know, what would I do? Like, you know, I mean, I can't go to any clubs now because it's lockdown, even though I like going to clubs. But what would I do? Just buy loads of expensive alcohol and just get wasted? What, you know, buy straights because they're easier to smoke and they don't require rolling. You know, it would just disappear. I know people that make 3 times as much as me that still struggle like as much as I do.
Because they spend all their money on shit.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I have all this freedom, and I don't make much money at all, and it gives me so much more freedom to like to just simply like discover things about myself. Like I went to the Warren yesterday with a couple of friends who I've been sort of sharing lockdown time with. I've got like a couple of people that.
Do you want to explain what the Warren is to people?
Yeah, the Warren it's just like sort of woodland beachy area that goes. So you got Folkestone, which is like here. And it's all of this place, and then there's a cliff that goes behind like that, and then it's like behind Folkestone. You've got this lovely beach with sand and stones. It goes on for miles, and you've got this woodland area. And we decided to go there and just like build a fire and stuff and cook. I mean, I admit that I was there all day, so I got pretty cold and tired after a while. But God, I mean, like, you know, just simply making fires, man. And my friend told me that they might be banning fireplaces indoors by 2021, and like, I mean, look at that thing. I'm not listening to them, you know. That regulating, you know, fire is the most human activity. Fires on beaches are illegal. Fires here are illegal. We got told off for making a fire out there, even though it was very controlled. Like, where am I supposed to build a fire, you know, in 2 years? That's insanity, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think that's crazy. That is
Crazy.
absolute insanity.
Fire making is the human activity above speaking. I mean, not above speaking. Along with speaking, fire making is the human activity, and you cannot deprive that sort of humanity.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's absolutely insane.
It's insane.
I want to be able to make a. Why shouldn't I be allowed to make a fire? If I want to make a fire,
it's not even like it's not the same thing as like eating marshmallows or anything like that. It's a very primal instinct for us to make fires in the same way that if it became illegal to, in the same way that if it became illegal to cook, because cooking can cause cooking, they'll find some fucking way to label cooking as being dangerous in some way, so it all has to be like store cooked or whatever. Like I could see that being a future, and I will enact civil disobedience in the same way that I'm going to enact this fire in 2 years. I'll make a society. I'll get people from around the country to say like we're building fires and you can't. We're going to build our own laws. That's something in the works. That's going to be something that if something I might start planning soon. So yeah, we're on an hour. You wanna stop there?
Yeah, I think we've covered a lot of things.
We covered a lot. All right. Oh bloody hell! I'm so glad I remembered. I've got to thank we got an honourable mentions where we thank our patrons. Let me just load that up. We got to do that. Right. We lost a patron. We had one. We had a patron, and I didn't know who they were, and now we don't have them anymore. So whoever that was, thanks for your temporary contribution. Right. So we thank Oliver, who says, yeah, I'll drink to that. We thank Rachel, who says, communism is for life, not just for Christmas. We have Manny, who says, long live Wombstone. We have Carols, not anymore. We don't have Carols anymore. We have Maisie, who says, 9/11 was an inside job. We have Helga, who runs a shop called Feral Child on the Old High Street. She hasn't said anything, but I just want to plug in her shop, like fashion, boutique, trinkets, stuff like that. Very nice stuff. And we thank Ryan, who says, keep true, be fair, and spread love. And I think that's a wonderful end.
I love Ryan. He's a great guy, isn't he?
Ryan Fleming is just, if you're watching this, Ryan, we appreciate you. We'll see you after lockdown. I'm going to give you a big smooch on the cheek. And we'll have a pint together. But not as spoons, because spoons are criminal. But,
are they? Like
well, they relieved all their cuts. They relieved all their employees. They said fuck off. We can't. We're not going to pay you after. Yeah.
Oh.
And he was going to keep it open. Even so the guy who owned it said that coronavirus doesn't get spread through pubs, which is the most ignorant thing I've ever heard. A lot of bad shit. So I'm going to be trying to avoid spoons as much. Weatherspoons for American audiences and other people. Weatherspoons is like the for people who don't know, Weatherspoons is the McDonald's of pubs in here. It's like the franchise. Every town has a Weatherspoons. So yeah, all of that good stuff. Enjoy the day. It's getting sunny. It's getting so beautiful out there. You've got to go. In packs of 2 or 3 if you live together, and don't be scared to go outside. Just avoid people, but go find a nice place to walk and enjoy the sunshine, because it's not going to be around forever. So wonderful. Lovely chatting with you, Nate.
It was nice talking to you, Jimmy.
And I'll see you soon. All right. See you in the next episode, guys. Bye.
Bye.